Look, if I come across you in the next few days, the next week, we running each other in a store or maybe some business thing or something, and you notice that my right arm looks like this picture over here, because that is my right arm. My picture over there, do not be telling Deidre nobody to try to get me into therapy or something. That doesn't mean that I'm starting to act like a depressed 16-year-old girl. It's just last night when I heard that it was supposed to be raining today and possibly all week long, I went out there with my little magnetic LED work light that Deidre bought, and and had to get up in there and swap out this little doodinky. It's on my. We have a 1993 OBS F250. It got that manly 7.3 liter international motor. It sounds like a John Deere tractor. When we pull up to a drive-through or something to order, we have to turn the truck off because the motor, that diesel motor, clickety-clacking too loud to be able to even hear the lady on the little speaker. But anyway, this little thing right here is a demon from hell. That's where it come from. See, we see those old F-250s, F1, those old Ford trucks. They say, oh, you got two fuel tanks on it. That's what I thought before I had one. Oh, it's got two fuel tanks on it. Man, I bet you can go a long ways on two fuel tanks, man. You carry a lot of fuel. Not so much. No, you don't have more fuel capacity than a guy with one fuel tank because what you have are two small fuel tanks. It's just the way those trucks are designed. There wasn't anywhere to put a one big fuel tank in the frame, within that framework and where it would be protected. You see, if you go back far enough to the days of the Pinto or even the old Mustang, and there was like a running joke that you could bump the rear end of those cars and they'd burst into flames. But it's because those fuel tanks were not protected behind any sort of framework or anything like that. So a rear end collision could, burst that fuel tank, and it just takes enough of a heat source or especially a little spark, and you have gasoline flying through the air with the greatest of ease and a little spark, and then you have barbecued people. So those tanks have to be inside that that frame rail. It's got to be encased so it's protected a little bit, Well, there just wasn't enough room to put a big tank, so they put two smaller tanks. And then they created this demon from hell right here. It's like something that should have been created by Chrysler or maybe even GM, but what's a little electronic thing? And there's a little plunger in there, and you flip the switch from one tank to the other, and that little plunger, it's electrically controlled, and it swaps from one tank to the other. Those two little black elbow-looking things, look to those two little black hoses on the bottom, that feeds the rear tank. And those that are just kind of up and to the left there, that you see, those feed the front tank. And then there's a couple on the top of it to go to the engine. Well, guess what happens when you disconnect the hoses? This is the old valve. And you disconnect those hoses off of that valve. And keep in mind, I'm laying under it. You disconnect it, what happens? This is lower than the tank. So the diesel from the tank runs out on you and on the ground. Now, had I been sufficiently prepared, well, that's not even true. I'll go and tell the truth. My garage is a wreck right now. Looks like a hurricane has blown through there. It didn't clean up behind itself. I own a set of fuel line pliers, wrenches, where you can go to the rubber part of those fuel lines and you clamp down on it and it will pinch them off. And so I did expect for it to happen. I knew it would happen because I couldn't find my little fuel line crimping, little pinching off tools. So I expected it to happen. I just didn't expect the copious amounts of diesel fuel that was going to be pouring down. So it was a little shocking. So that's probably, when I die early from, cirrhosis of the liver or some kind of weird cancer that comes from being exposed to petroleum products, or when my Alzheimer's becomes evident or something, it's going to be because of stuff like this, So, but I got it off. I figured it out, whatever, and made a big mess. Thank goodness it wasn't a gasoline truck. That would have been undoable. I'd have had to drain my tanks or something, or just put it off until I could find my little Richie things. But got it off, got the clean one back on there. But you see where it says fuel tank up there? Well, on that little edge that you can't see in the picture, but it's right up above that black corrugated looking uh, loom. That is wire loom that protects electrical wires. There's a very thin edge where the top and the bottom halves of the tank are crimped together, tack welded together and everything. So reaching up in there with my big old hands between, to get to the top of that valve that you can't see in the picture and everything, it's just the edge of that thing was just scraping the heck out of my wrist. I mean, it's sheet metal. It's the sharp edge of sheet metal. So the whole time I was praying it didn't actually, cut into me, but it did scrape me up a little bit. And, I'm just saying, I'm a redneck, but I am not crazy about being injured doing man work. So that's all well and good. But I'll stop crying because Deej is having her procedure in the morning. This is version 2.0. We tried to have it a few months ago, but they couldn't get her blood pressure down enough to do the procedure. So we think we have some stuff in place. But tomorrow morning we're gonna actually have the procedure and whatever. So when we get her out of surgery, I don't guess my scraped up, scratched up wrist from my fuel selection valve is gonna make a big difference. And so we'll be in recovery. So at any rate,